Hello, Brazil. We are so excited to be here with you today. My name is Marlena Hebern, and I'm here with Jon Corippo. And I just want to introduce myself, and Jon will introduce himself. I've been an educator for over 30 years. I've taught in all kinds of grades, and I'm the co-author, co-creator, and co-founder of the Eduprotocols. And Jon is also here with us today. Jon?
Hello, my name is Jon Corippo, and I am one of the co-authors with Marlena of the Eduprotocols. This is year 26 for me in education, and I started getting rid of worksheets and all those kinds of things in about 1999. And I'm going to go and share my screen. We're super excited to bring the idea of Eduprotocols to Brazil and to be working with Carla and the Amplifica team. And really the big idea of Eduprotocols is to teach better and work less. What do you think about that, Marlena? Does teaching better and work less sound fun?
It works. It works. And what Eduprotocols are, just basically, it's a lesson frame. So you can use this lesson frame across content with different subjects, across different grade levels. That one activity that you do, you just insert your content into it and you can use it over and over and over again.
And the teaching better part is actually seeing student scores going up 25, 35, 40 points in one lesson. So from 30% of the class passing to 50 or 60% of the class passing literally in one lesson. So you're going to see dramatic score increases. The working less part is like what Marlena mentioned about the frames. You can use the frames over and over again, and you just change the content. So you don't have to spend all weekend planning things. You don't have to spend all weekend making PowerPoints and review quizzes and all those kinds of things. And that's the Eduprotocols idea. Now, all this stuff that we're doing is based on a lot of research. One of my favorite quotes is from Michael Fullan, and he says that the biggest crisis in education right now is an over-reliance on corporately produced lesson plans. Let me break that down for you. What he's saying is just handing kids workbooks and having the answer key is not getting us the experience that we want from school for kids. Here's another data point. Marlena, do you want to talk about this one real quick?
Well, what this graphic is showing is since 1970, student scores are not getting any better. We see where they should be, but they're not. All the things we're trying, all the different strategies that we're using with kids, and yet their scores basically have flatlined. So what we're attempting to do is something different to get them more involved in their learning, more hands-on, more collaboration, more connecting with other kids. And that is what raises their scores.
Yeah, and that's a great tie-in to our friend Dr. Sunny Magana, another researcher that we were happy to meet about 3 years ago. His research is housed at the University of Oxford, and what his research proves is that if you take a classroom that is workbook-based or lecture and worksheet-based or tell and practice, as Sunny calls it, your academic scores actually go down from a 0.40. 0.40 is what 1 year of learning should be in a classroom, right? And when you don't have strong pedagogy and you add educational technology to that classroom, you actually lose 0.6 of a point of growth because the technology is not a magic cure by itself. And so one of the things that we talk about a lot in Eduprotocols is the classic way that we were instructed. And this is the way most of us got our instruction. There was direct instruction by a teacher or professora, and you would do some work. You would answer some questions at the end of the lecture, and then the teacher
A lot of
would,
worksheets. A
yeah, a
lot of
lot of
worksheets.
worksheets and not much feedback, and that's really key. So you would get this worksheet or the questions at the end of the quiz, and your feedback might be never. It might be a smiley face. So you're not really getting coached on what to do. In the Eduprotocols world, what we do is we start with some work. We use the technology to ask a question and find out what kids can do immediately. We only need to ask one or two questions. And then what we do is we give the kids feedback, and this is groundbreaking for a lot of teachers, immediately. We do not collect the work and score it later. And if they have problems, we give them direct instruction immediately. And then we basically repeat that process. It's the same thing that a good football coach, and I'm speaking football with the feet, Brazilian football, not American football, but any good coach would do. Hey, can you kick the ball? That was pretty cool. Let me show you how to do this. Ooh, that was even better. So that fast feedback loop turns out to be super critical in teaching and learning. And so what is an Eduprotocol?
Eduprotocols are lesson frames, right, that you use over and over and over again. And what you'll find is the more that you use them and the better the students learn that lesson frame, the more that they can concentrate on the curriculum and the objectives that you're trying to teach them. So then each Eduprotocol, really you'll find incorporates many standards because you're asking students to do more than one thing at a time. It's not that they're just writing in isolation, but they might be reading and taking notes, talking with somebody, comparing their points of view, and then they're writing. So there's many standards throughout the process that they can, that they'll be using. Most of them are done within a class period. They're pretty quick. We want to really open up students' creativity and be able to give them a little wiggle room in how they're learning and as we guide them through the content. So we want to adapt these to grade levels. So most of these will span many grade levels. We have a set that's specific to math, but as far as the other subject areas, mostly they move in and out pretty easily between subject areas. And sometimes paper's just best. So if your students are young or just learning, or maybe you don't have access to computers, you can still engage with the Eduprotocols.
And I would just add on with the seamlessly incorporating tech, you don't have to learn like Photoshop to do these lessons. You don't have to learn how to do HTML. You're just using common things like PowerPoint and Google Slides or quizzes. You're using very common tools to get dramatically better results. Here's a couple of quotes, some of our satisfied teachers that we work with. Nicole Chun is a really good friend of mine. She says, in 20 years of teaching, nothing has impacted her practice more. She gives a copy to every pre-service student and anybody that she mentors. And then Joe Marquez, another friend of ours, was working down at Fresno State with some pre-service teachers. And one of the comments that Joe thought was the best of the day, I learned more about teaching in 3 hours than in 6 years of college. And that's using really easy to use frameworks that allow kids to really engage. And then Diane Mapes says she had been teaching the exact same way for 30 years. And it's changing her life. Like she wants to get up to go to school every day. It's more of a side dish. It's kind of more like a salad or a good casserole. It's called Sketch and Tell. Marlena created it. Give us a little rundown on Sketch and Tell, Marlena.
You're giving students a source that they're either reading, watching, or listening to. Then they sketch out on the slide using the drawing tools, whatever they comprehend that content to be. And we want them to use the drawing tools because we want to slow down the thinking process and allow them time to process what they learned. Then they explain their drawing to a partner, and then they take a couple of minutes and write about it. It's a great way for kids to digest content and to show that they understand what the learning is.
And it's great for science or history, so you can use it in many different scenarios. And then the last one that we want to share with you there, it's called the Iron Chef lesson. And it's kind of like a good old jigsaw, which a lot of folks have done in teacher school. It's similar to both of the things that we've shown you, but it's a little deeper because we give the students a source to read, like Marlena was saying, there's a reading comprehension element. They share some facts or images. Each student gets one slide, but there's more to do, so each student gets 10 minutes. Each group then gets 2 minutes to share. And again, I'm replacing a 20-minute lecture with 20 minutes of my kids working, and I'm giving them direct instruction if they're not doing it right. Here's a high school level one that a teacher sent me that she made. It's really cool. So in this Iron Chef, I'll use my little drawing tool here. The mission, the archetype for the student to explain is the outlaw. And the secret ingredient today, you must include a motorcycle. So in the example that the teacher shares, the student has put Deadpool on a motorcycle. If it were a brand, it's Harley Davidson. So we're working in some symbolism. And then write a little paragraph about the picture. So that's the framework that I gave to my sixth graders, Marlena. I'm not sure if I've ever shown you this one.
Oh, yes, I've seen it. I love this.
So my sixth graders were working on archetypes. In this case, Jenna had the citizen was the archetype. Her secret ingredient was aliens. Of course, she picks E.T., the ideal citizen alien, right? And then she wrote a nice little paragraph about it. And then one more student example from my class. Seth got given the archetype character, the caregiver, and your secret ingredient must be a puppy. So Seth put in service dogs, and then he wrote a nice little paragraph. So it's really quick and easy to grade. It's fun for kids. This was the final. And now I know that they know their archetypes. It's really amazing. So
and the Iron Chef is such a great way to, I always say, crunch through the content, because you can divide that content up, and instead of the teacher being in front of the classroom lecturing students, the students are actually teaching each other about the content. It's a great way to get through a lot of stuff.
And so, for example, in my class, out of the 6 archetypes on the quiz, each kid got to hear that archetype 5 different ways. And so it's really reinforcing it without me having to talk all day. So Eduprotocols are going worldwide. We're super excited to be sharing with Carla and her team in Brazil. We've got another team that's getting ready to go live in Mexico. And if you want some more information about this, you can go to eduprotocols.com and see our free templates. We're excited to be sharing with this in other countries, and we can't wait to see what you do in Brazil with Eduprotocols.
We are so excited about partnering with Brazil to bring you Eduprotocols. And Jon and I are here to help. If you want to reach out to us, we're here to help too.